What's up, Soundless Church Youth? My name is Chris, and I'm coming at you from the Woodcrest campus. Today's devotional, I want to dive into my favorite verse in the Bible. That verse comes out of the book of Philippians, and it's written by this guy named the Apostle Paul. Quick backstory on Paul. He used to be a Jew who persecuted Christians, but he had an encounter with Jesus that he couldn't deny. He ended up becoming a Christian and probably the biggest proponent of Christianity we've ever seen. So he writes this verse in the book of Philippians. It's in chapter 4, verse 6, and it goes, "Don't worry about anything, but instead pray about everything." And now he's writing this probably from prison, probably being persecuted for being a Christian now. He's probably been beaten while in prison, and he's eventually going to be executed for his faith in Christ. So he has a somewhat semblance of worry and what that must be like. But he tells us, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. He says worry's not going to do anything better for our lives. It's not going to make the situation better. It's not going to make us better. It's only going to make us worse. So he says we need to send that up to God. Release yourself from that worry. And that verse really resonated with me this past year. Part of my backstory is I used to be a professional baseball player. I played for 18 seasons, and last year was probably going to be my final season in my mind. And I remember going into the season thinking like, hey, this is going to be the ultimate peak that I can just ride into the sunset on. I'm going to play in the major leagues the entire season. I'm going to cash a good paycheck. I'm going to have crazy numbers that I can just sit on for the rest of my life and remind my grandkids, hey, yeah, I was that good. So I remember going into spring training thinking like, hey, I'm going to be the guy. I'm competing with these other guys, but I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do all these things. And I'm going to earn that job. Well, at the end of spring training, I was told, no, that's not going to happen. You're going to start in the minor leagues, I was told. So I'm like, oh, shoot, that's not really how I intended it to be, not really what I wanted it to be, but it's cool. I have an opportunity down there to earn my place back up into the major leagues. So a couple weeks go by down there and nothing's really happening. My mind starts to spin with all these different scenarios like, am I not doing good enough here? Am I not, working hard enough there? Like, what are they thinking? Are these other guys a product of like me not going anywhere? And I start to worry about all these different things. But then I cast it aside. I'm like, all right, no. I remember that verse, Philippians 4:6. Now, don't worry about it. Just send it up to God. No big deal. Well, about a month goes by and still the same thing. Nothing's happening with me. In fact, some other guys are jumping over me going up to the major leagues when I was told I should have been that guy. So now my worry's just spiking to the roof. I'm like, what is going on? I was told I was supposed to be in a certain situation. Stuff's going to happen. I'm going to be in the big leagues living out my dream. It's not happening. And my mind's starting to spin each and every night. I'm losing sleep over it. And I finally get to my boiling point. I can't take it anymore. So I remember sitting down one night and I prayed. And I said, God, this is the situation. This is my final season. This is what I want. I want to play in the major leagues. I want to ride out on that high horse. I want all these different things. But you know what? It's your will be done. As soon as I said those words, it's like a weight was just lifted off my shoulders. Everything was released. I sent it all up to God and I said, you know what? This is what I want. This is what I'm worrying about, but now it's on you. So I felt so comforted in that fact. I slept so good that night, longer than I had ever slept that entire season. And I remember waking up the next day and I get a phone call and it's from the San Diego Padres minor league coordinator. And I'm like, dude, God, you hooked it up. I prayed to you. Now you're going to give me what I want. I'm all pumped. Guy gets on the phone. He says, we appreciate what you've done for us this season, all the hard work you've put in. I'm like, yes, finally, everything's paying off. But we're releasing you. I'm like, what? In other words, I'm fired, right? No more job anymore. Not even hey, you're going to send you back down. No, you're cut. You're done. I'm like, God, really? Can I take that back? I'm not ready for that. I wasn't expecting this, What I wanted was this, and what you're giving me is something else. And I'm like, oh, shoot. So I remember driving home I was in El Paso at the time, driving home back to California. And I said a different prayer, but similar. I was like, God, this is what I want. I still feel like I can play this game of baseball. I want to keep going at least for the end of the season. But if that's not your will for me, I'm good with that too. Just make that clear. So I get home, 3 weeks go by, not one phone call from another team. So at that point, I'm like, all right, God, I get it. You're sending me a message. All my worry, all my anxiety, I can rest in that because I know you're taking care of me. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what's spinning through your mind during the season, but I have one question for you. Is that worrying making anything better? Is it actually changing the situation? If it is, you need to come talk to me. I need some of that. how worry makes things better. But if you're like me and it doesn't make anything better, and it probably makes it even worse, I want you to remember what Paul said. He said, don't worry about anything, but instead pray about everything. Release it to God and let him take over. That's what I got for you guys this week. I love you, and I hope I see you guys soon. Take care.